Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be opened. Or which one of you, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will he be given a serpent? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Hello, ladies. Welcome to Homemakers Radio. I know I look kind of funny in all this get-up, but I'm wearing a costume, and this is the one you see me in front of the desk on the sidebar and the little oval icon that I put there. And I made it maybe 15 years ago, probably a little bit more. It's a little bit snug on me now, so I'll have to watch, won't I? And today I would like to show you my teacup, and I will also explain the reason for this costume. Today I'd like you to show my teacup, and it is an antique. You can tell by how tiny the handle is, and it's by Colclo. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Colclo or Colclo, but it's just so pretty, and it goes just perfect with my costume. So today, ladies, I am recovering. This is literally the only corner in the house that hasn't been totally demolished because I had 18 people here on the 4th of July, and 9 people stayed for yesterday. So today I woke up and saw the city demolished. I had 9 people stayed for 3 days and 3 nights, and so I have 9 beds in this cottage. Yes, in the manse. I managed to get 9 beds in here, and I turned the living room into a bedroom, and I had a screen, and really made it nice. And I have to clean all that up and take all those sheets off and redo the bedding and do the laundry and hang them on the line. Plus, you haven't seen the kitchen yet. We loaded the dishwasher and unloaded it several times, and there's still one more load waiting. And we exhausted ourselves making food and doing different things, because we knew we would not be able to see each other for a while. And we sat out on the lawn and sang a hymn. You know the one that I put on called His Love Cannot Fail? Well, I found the sheet music online, and I paid for it, and you could download it and print it off. And I printed off almost 18 sheets of it, and I paid for them all and let everyone have one after we had eaten our dinner, and we were waiting for it to get dark so we could have fireworks. And so I said, you know, I've done a lot of work for you here, and we've had a meal, and I've been waiting all year to see all of you. And these 18 people were my descendants. I came here with 5 people, and now there are 18, and I'll bet all of you could count at least 18. If you've been here on the web this long, by now you probably have 18 descendants, and I have 18, and they were all here, and they sang that song. And of course we are in the Church of Christ, and we know the parts pretty well because, we've done it for so long, and we usually sit next to someone who sings and the part we want. So they managed to. I played it for them on the computer so they could hear it and see the words on that S.E. Samonte website. And after that, I played it for them once, and then I passed out the sheets of paper, and they sang it to perfection the first time. So I'm so happy. Of course, I don't have a recording of it, but it will be an annual thing. I hope next year. I hope for them to sing another one. These are old songs that used to be in the church hymnals when I was about 6 years old. They haven't been there for a while, but the one His Love Cannot Fail should still be in there because it's just a precious song. We actually sang it in church. We never shut church down during all this event, and everybody's still singing and being together. And so today I have quite a few things to talk to you about, and I wanted to tell you about my costume because I am not going to wear a mask. A mask makes me gag, and I will just throw up in the mask. It'll be a mess. And also, I can't breathe. I don't care even if it's a surgical mask. So I decided that what I would do, because they are changing it to masks and calling it masks and face coverings. So what I decided to do was put on a picture hat and wrap it in this tulle. I bought 3 yards of this tulle, and it's at Hobby Lobby for $1.20 a yard, so it didn't cost much. And then you tie it like that over it fits better if you do it once it's on your head, and you tie it like that over the hat. And then you pull down the amount that you want over your face when you have to go in a place that requires you, that requests you to wear a mask. But I will tell you more about that. I think I left my card, but anyway, I wanted to show you how this one works that I wore. And I went to the grocery store, and I pulled it up when I was in the car. And this is just like the ladies used to do. You know, they had a mask like this, like a face covering like this. I can see through it. You can see me. I can see you. And the hat is wonderful because it's natural social distancing. You can't get too close to me. I have another one that's even bigger. And so the hat is wonderful. It just puts the right amount of space, respectful space between people, with or without a cold. And so that's what I did. And then when I wanted to leave and get back in the car, I pulled it up. Now you can do this with a number of other things. You can, if you've got one of these Western hats like this, you could just tie it around that. Do the same thing. Just tie it around that. Pull that around the front. In fact, if you go to VictorianTradingCompany.com, they have hats that look just like this, $120. This hat costs $5 at Walmart. This costs $3.60 at Hobby Lobby, and these come in all colors. I'm fixing to go get a gray, some gray that goes with a very pearl gray hat that I have. Now, this is pretty awkward to wear this into a store and get all dressed up, but you could do it with ordinary clothes. You could just go ahead and put on your top and put on a hat, and that's just what ladies did, isn't it? Well, here's another idea for you, and don't forget the gloves. Here's another idea for you. Everybody loves these sun visors or a baseball cap. All you have to do with this, like I've got a piece here that in my sewing scraps or my sewing stash, I've got a piece here. It's just a yard, and I don't want to cut it up for this, so I'm going to show you how to put this on. Is that you just put it down your back like that. Put the bigger part down your back. Put the sun visor on. Flip it over the top. Flip it over the top and down your back or your front or whatever you want. And then when you have to cover your face with a face covering, there you go. You can see everybody, and they can possibly see you. And so today, I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I was researching this a while back and discovered that some people just can't wear masks. Plus the fact that it's just pure tyranny to make people do that. And you know, when you confine people to home who are sick, that's quarantine. But when you confine people to home who are well, that's tyranny. Now, one of the things I want to do is pull this around to the front if I want just maybe a little more modesty. This is a little bit snug on me, and I kind of like to have a little bit more modesty there. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, but at the same time, I'm very much aware that we don't need more hyped up news. So I'll just leave you some links if you want to go to them. And one of the things I'm doing, and it was totally unnecessary the first time I went out during this second shutdown, I took this card with me, and I didn't have a hat on, and I didn't wear a mask. I will not wear a mask. Those things are not sanitary, actually. And I read this card to them, a doctor's warning about masks, and it says, it tells why you wouldn't want to wear a mask. But there's also a political statement on it that says no law has been passed. No law has been passed. It's just a recommendation, and that they cannot discriminate you if you're not wearing a mask. Anyway, I read it aloud to the person that was parked at the front door that was not letting people in without a mask, and I read it aloud to him, and he just opened the door and let me in. So, but I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. It's very stressful, What about these young women with children in tow, having to stop and read something to someone? You could hand them the card, but they won't read it. And so I thought, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to talk to people. It's very stressful. It just takes a lot out of me. I couldn't do that more than once a year. So instead, I chose to do this. And they were so distracted by my costume. Some of them gave me very wide berth in the store. It is rather big, Do you remember Queen Victoria wrote that she, in one of her invitation. So she was going to have some event in her home for Christmas, and she asked the ladies to be modest with their skirts so that there would be room for everyone. So today, ladies, I don't know if you are going to get any work done because I have some things to tell you and some things to talk about. And so I wanted to start with appearance. I generally will not dress up like this every day, but today I am going out. I'm going to wear the full costume. Then another day I'm going to wear this or the cowboy hat, just with one of these veils, and just to be it's fashionable. It's not anything to do with trying to comply with face masks, which are not healthy for you, and more people are going to get sick wearing those. And I'll put the links if you want to go look that up, okay? Because I think a lot of people are discovering this. And so in the getting dressed, so if you need to get dressed, now's the time to go and get dressed before we get started. I know it's probably going to be quite entertaining to watch this eccentric woman wearing a Victorian costume today. But you should go get dressed first, and really getting dressed and fixing your hair and your makeup and just the whole preparation event should be a relaxed time. So don't take the media in the bathroom with you. Don't listen to that stuff. It's just going to pull you down. Instead, you ought to be listening to things which tell you that life is good and life is improving. Because actually, when I look around me, nothing's changed. I still have to clean up my house. None of this event watching and keeping a tab on the media and trying to figure out what's going to happen to us has gotten my dishes done. And as a matter of fact, it'll depress you so much you can't clean your house. And one of the greatest lifts is to walk into a beautiful clean house, to have it decorated and arranged the way you want. And I wanted to tell you one more thing that you could do if you don't want to stand there and have fabric cut for you. At Hobby Lobby, they have these in just every color. And what it is, it's more of that tool. And I'll just undo it for you and show you. It's $3.99, but usually they're 50% off, so you can get it for $2. And see, it's just a swath of this. And all you have to do is use this, and you can wrap it around your hat if you want to just use a smaller piece like that. Okay? And since they're calling it face coverings, and there are no laws or restrictions on it, and no one can tell you what a face covering is, you can dress like a lady. No lady actually would have covered her face except with something pretty like this, or with a little veil. So I will put this on the site for you, and my Mr. S printed them off on cardstock for me so I could keep them in my purse. But since I've been wearing this, I haven't had to give any of those out, and I haven't had to read any of them. So now, so don't take the media into the bathroom with you, and let the time that you spend in the bathroom be the downtime. Don't you remember those old Calgon ads on the television back in the olden days, where they said, Calgon, take me away, and it showed at first a woman whose house was a mess, and she was working hard and just couldn't quite catch up, and it said, Calgon, take me. She got it all finished, and then she said, Calgon, take me away, and she took a bubble bath, and she unwound. And it used to be you could do that, but a lot of people are taking their devices in there with them and listening to all this stuff and staying tense, even through their downtime. And as a refinement assignment, teacher has some things for you to do, and one of them is to relax. I wanted to show you a couple of things that there were 10 children there over the last 3 days, and I didn't have anything planned for them. I thought they could just run out and play. That also is the homeschool physical education plan. You just go outside and run and jump and play. And that's what they did. I had no equipment for them, nothing to do, but we do have a vast amount of grassland that they could run on. So they got into my old stash of papers that I'm not ever going to use, because I've got scrapbook papers that'll take me into the year 3000. And they made paper airplanes, and there was a paper airplane book, of course. Everybody Every homeschooler and homemaker has a paper airplane book. I couldn't find it though because they were using it in who knows where it is, back in that jungle back there. And I wanted to show you what they did with these paper airplanes. They decorated them. They made them into, they're just beautiful, aren't they? I'm going to keep them. It says plane number 9 and they named it A9S. And there's a rainbow on it. It's really, these are just really nice. And they actually work. They're just very nice. And they were playing with these outside. So afterwards, I went out and picked them all up. Now look how nicely that one's decorated. Isn't that pretty? Oh, that one's a good one. I wish you could have seen that one. That was a really good. This is almost as fun as skipping rocks. But this one has wings on it. Isn't that pretty? So they decorated all of these. So I've been going around in the yard today. Thank goodness it didn't rain. And I picked them all up. They're just precious. And they have their names on them. Oh my goodness. These are good flyers too. Okay. So then one of them, every time she comes, if it's for 3 days or even if there's no event and it's just some kind of summer week or something and they come for a week, she takes paper, just plain paper, and she staples it together just like that, just a small little book, and she writes a little diary of what took place, all the things they did. So let me just read some of it to you. And then she left it with me because that's going to help me. That's going to help me remember what we did and think of some other activities that maybe aren't repeated or that maybe are repeated because they liked them. So I'm going to read this to you. Thursday, July 2nd, 2020. We came around 7. IJ and JP came in IJ's car later, and Daddy arrived very late. We all at different times had a wonderful chicken dinner, and I helped dig and wash potatoes from the garden. And there was exclamation mark because I said we're going to have to go out shopping for our salad and our potatoes. And I said, here, you take this bucket, and I'll take this bucket. We went around and dug around, and we got greens and the microgreens and the salad dressing, salad greens and the lettuces, and we got potatoes. And I had 3 kinds. So I said, okay, what kind do you want? You want Yorkshire? You want Yukon Gold, or do you want red potatoes, or do you want russet? And I'd show them where they were, and they would dig. They were fascinated. And Mr. S got me a very special shovel that does not seem to cut the potatoes up. You know how you're digging, you can't see what you're doing, and you end up with several of them sliced. We didn't slice one potato with this one, and we managed to pull them all up. And what a thrill it was when she'd see it coming up, and there'd be a red potato in the dirt. Oh, look at that one, a great big one. She put it in the bucket, and then we filled the bucket with these delicious-looking potatoes, and she washed them with the hose, brought them in, and when I cooked them, I had a lot of flavorings on everything, and I did a one-pan cooking. And we noticed that these potatoes that are homegrown did not have the feeling of the acid in them, or the acid indigestion that they sometimes can bring up. A lot of people can't eat too many starches because of that, but these were very nice. And so, bragging, God grew them. Okay, now, Friday, June the 3rd, the cousins came around noon. We played games and tag games and ball and flew airplanes. We set off fireworks in the evening. Uncle Billy came for dinner. We had marshmallows in the evening. July the 4th, we flew more paper airplanes, and all 10 children flew the planes. And then she has more descriptions of what all she did. She went swimming. We have a swimming pool. It's a stock tank. And stock tank kind of looks like one of these blue, flimsy swimming pools, but it's not. It takes several men to get it down, put it up, and put it away, and because it's a stock tank, it's very, very heavy. And I don't think anyone could even steal it. It's so heavy. So they went swimming in the stock tank. I fill the pool every day with fresh water. We have well water out here, so we don't have to pay a lot. And so that's one I wanted to show you. Another thing I wanted to show, this is probably just going to be a show and tell, and you won't get anything done, but you can always re-listen to it, okay? So now we want to graduate to homemaking without outside interference, without outside stress. Will you bring in the media even the conservative media is not too optimistic sometimes, are they? They will criticize and they will analyze it all to death. And just remember that there's a lot of good things happening, and as good things happening, the bad people press on harder from the other side, and that just goes to show you're doing good. You know, when I first came on the web, and I think it was around 2005, I wrote 5 little articles, and one was on feminine dress, another was on homemaking, art, literature, and music, and hospitality, and I think there were a couple more, and trying to tea time. I just wrote these cute little articles, and I was attacked from all sides by terrible people, vile, terrible people who accused me of being racist and anti-women and a rich white woman, and just all, it went on, and for several years it just went on. You just couldn't put out anything like that. But you know what? It was a signal that what I was doing was effective, and they were afraid it was going to be effective, so they felt they had to do that, and probably were hired to do that. But if you go back and read those old articles, you can't find anything wrong with them. And so, homemaking without outside stress. And I said this to tell you that whatever you're doing, you still might have a little bit of backlash, because there are people in the world who are narcissistic, and I think that's a wrong word for them, but that's what's popularly known as. A narcissist is someone, and it's very typical of our Marxist governments in the different states, is to find out something that makes people happy, comfortable, and they're productive and they're prosperous, and take it away from them. And so I was thinking how homemaking is it can be such a pleasure if no one's criticizing you or trying to distract you. And one of the things the media will do is distract you from it, so you think, oh, all is lost. You know, we'll just go watch a game, or we'll just go watch a movie. But as a matter of fact, even your relaxing time, when that's all you're doing, is just enjoying reading or watching a pleasant movie, somebody's going to tell you that that's not good for you. And so today, I'd like to have you focus on your housework. And there was a little statistic going around years ago, and it was that homemaking was 99% work and 1% enjoyment. In other words, you know, you'd work all day and you get to sit down for 1% of the time and relax and have a cup of tea. Well, I've decided to challenge that and change that today. I would say that you could, by learning to relax while you're doing your homemaking, and learning to do the things that will help you to relax, whether it's good things to smell or good things to hear, that you can have 100% satisfaction. Now that's different than 99% work and 1% relaxation. Well, let's just forget that. Let's just say no matter whether it's work or relaxation, it's 100% satisfaction. Because when you're working is when your brain will function better. The hands engage the mind. It'll take away that feeling of a rootlessness, a feeling of kind of going around in circles, not knowing where to start, and your mind is spinning. It will take that away. Just do something. I often say to people, if you're having trouble getting started, just get dressed. Start getting dressed, because you're moving. You're also looking at yourself, and you're thinking about being pleasant to other people, because that's part of the purpose of it, isn't it? It's only to praise God, of course, and to reflect Him, but it is also to make life a little more pleasant for other people. Now, I mentioned a movie that I had watched that I liked. It was called Love Comes Softly, about the lady that came across in a covered wagon back in the 1800s, or was it early 1900s? I don't remember when. And her husband died on the way, and she married a widower whose wife had died, and they homesteaded somewhere, and of course they were still both kind of in shell shock from having lost their mates. And one day they were in the yard planting some things, and they started to tease each other and throw the bulbs and the seeds around, and uh, the little girl who belonged to the father, the father started to laugh, and the little girl said, "Pa, you got your laugh back." So ladies, I'd like to see you get your laugh back. Always remember that, how important that is. How long has it been since you laughed? So you've got to get your laugh back, and teacher has an assignment for you in the refinement area for you to get your laugh back. Just a minute here. Now we're in haying season, so now all that dust is coming in here. So okay, so that's one of your assignments would be to get your laugh back. So we'll just put that there. Okay, so some of the things that make us most tense in the home is having restrictions. And they make us tense, and they harm our health, and they threaten our service to our family, and they threaten our God-given role. So anything that threatens your God-given role is wrong, and so you just disregard it and do what you're supposed to do. You do your homemaking, and you supply your home. And one of the things that I looked up recently was the Geneva Convention. Now, I realize this is not very calming to some of you that want a nice video that you can listen to while you work. But it's on my mind, and I thought I would share it. I will put a warning on it for sensitive material, and that is the Geneva Convention states that you are not supposed to torture a captive. You cannot torture a prisoner by denying them food, or by denying them worshiping their own God, or by restricting their movements, by locking them up or tying them up so they can't move. And so one of the things that I said in the first store that I had been to, the one that I gave the card to, was you can't deny me entrance. I'm shopping for groceries. I'm shopping for food. And if you deny me that, shopping for food, you are violating the Geneva Convention, because you're not supposed to deny food to prisoners. And of course, they've tried to imprison us all in our home, and that's what we can have a little fun with this, lady. But I don't want you to do it if you have children and that you have them in tow. They're going to be traumatized by anything their mother does or says. And so if you want to do something like this, just do it on your own, okay? And so now, so no law has been passed regarding masks. No law has been passed, and a governor does not pass laws. If you think a governor passed laws, you better go look up your state constitution. The governor is just the person that accepts or vetoes. The laws are passed by the legislature of your state. So you cannot, she can make a ruling, he or she can make a ruling, but it has a limit of 21 days. And they can't just keep having one ruling back to back and keeping people confined. And so they need to know that too, that governors do not pass laws. And so these restrictions will restrict your ability to feed your family. That's not right. So that's why we go out, and that's why I wear my Victorian hat and pull down the shade. And I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but I have the costumes. They're just hanging in the closet, and I need to wear them. And also, when they saw me in the store, no one spoke to me. Usually, they'll speak to me about not wearing a mask. But when they saw me in the costume was so distracting that all people could say was, "That is such a nice, ma'am, that is such a nice costume." And no one even noticed. But a Victorian woman would never wear a mask anyway, would she? Although in the Victorian era, there was a flu going around in New York in the dead of a winter. It might have been in the early 1900s, which was still the Victorian era. And so the Department of Health put in the newspaper that everyone should wear a hat and wear gloves and carry a handkerchief or a hanky, so that you could see pictures. The ladies would hold the hankies up to their nose. And that's another great suggestion too. Just carry an old-fashioned hanky with you, or a bandana, and just hold it up to your nose like a lady would. So now, ladies, I've been talking for nearly 30 minutes, and I doubt very much that I'm going to be able to go much longer. So I'm going to give you your assignment. But first I'm going to show you, remember this little book, you're going to need to make yourself a little book like this, where you put your assignments in, and you keep your refinement classes. So I'm going to give you some assignments for your refinement class. But I wanted to show you something that, you know, I was in the grocery store and I thought, well, I'm going to pay myself for the effort that I've been to and some of the stress I've had. I've told you, people that are under stress try to find more escape and they spend more money. So I bought this book called, now see, I don't just buy magazines and tear them up and use them for the fire. If I buy them, they have to be good. I'll go through them first, and I will keep them as a book. And so then I have my little collections of books back there. So it is a book, costs as much as a book, and I just wanted to show you some of the things in it that were so pleasant. And it is pleasant, you know. It's greets you with an end paper or a page that's awfully pretty. Look at that one on the fence. And this is what I will look at when it even has, it's mainly interiors, which I absolutely love. And, you know, like there's a table with a candle. And people don't sit at tables anymore, but it's fun to decorate them anyway. And so I will keep this probably for a long time. And there are a couple of other pictures I do want to show you before I go on. I love fences, don't you? We don't have these out west so much. I know the Australians all have beautiful fences, very innovative fences. And I took a lot of pictures of them when I was there. And then there's a scene very typical of where I live, right there. You know, I grew up by the sea. I was a fisherman's daughter. And it's taken me a long time to get used to farmland because it's more restrictive. People fence it in. And so you can't like just take off across a field and walk. But the sea, the ocean, and the beaches were always free. They were never marked off. And in Oregon, the beaches are public. All the beaches are public, and you can't build a house on the beach and then claim a certain part of it as your certain part of the beach as your own. Everybody gets to walk the beach. So now I can't think of anything else that I would like to tell you, so I'm going to give you your assignments. And if this was too short for you, just go to the left where it talks about continuous play on my blog, and just click continuous play, and it will take you to the previous one, and I will try to do a few more. So today what I want you to do is get your laugh back. I'll publish all these on the blog. Ladies, I don't have a comments for you on the video because I'm not really making this for YouTube. I'm making this for my videos, for my blog, to enrich my blog, and I'd like you to go over there to make the comments and see what everyone else is saying and look at the blog. So get your laugh back. Pa, you got your laugh back. You know, why don't you just sit down? Here's another thing I will tell you is that I want you to have it written down here. What is it? Recline. Recline for an hour. If you can get enough things ahead that you're not needed urgently, recline for an hour. Everybody seems to have these chairs, you know, that have a reclining foot piece, and you can recline, but not actually lay down. But you can recline for an hour and watch Love Comes Softly. And surely everybody's got the DVD, or you can, and it is free. I've noticed someone had put it on YouTube, and it is free. Love Comes Softly. I don't want to know if I should put the link there or not, but I could do that for you. And watch that, and see if you can pick up some of the phrases that were used in that story. For one thing, when little Missy, she was trying to, the new wife was trying to be a good mama to this daughter, who's probably about 6 or 7 years old, and the little girl did not want to learn to read and write, but her father had asked this woman to do it. So she was saying, I'm doing this for your father. He wants you to learn to read and write and to pronounce everything. And then she would show her some books and, you know, tell her what was in them. And the little girl said, I don't see any use for books out here. So her mama said, her new mama said, when you can read a book, you can travel to distant lands. You can have all kinds of adventures. So, like when I read to you, doesn't your mind fill in the scenes even though you don't know what they are? So, recline. The first thing is get your laugh back by finding a joke, finding a really funny joke, a good one. And the other one is to recline for an hour and watch Love Comes Softly or just listen to it. You know, I know some of these movies so well that I would put in Love Comes Softly and clean up the kitchen, and it would get me through the kitchen. The other thing is to write something like this of a 3-day life in your home. It doesn't have to be an event, and you don't have to have company. Just write, for example, someone told me, why don't you write about something that you're doing, like the dress you're making, and cut out a piece of the fabric and staple it on here, draw a picture of the design, and say, you know, I chose this because, and this is why I'm making it here, and I'm using old buttons from my grandmother's collection, and I found some ribbon that would work for this, and this is what I want to look like, and this is where I want to wear it, this is why I'm making it. Just anything, whether it's cooking something, or, you know, we should all have these cameras that spurt out the picture automatically, and you can stick the picture in these too. These are really small, and they're not discouraging. You know how many of you have had a big notebook and you did a few pages and then got discouraged because they're just too big? These little books are nice. And then I have a little library, and sometime I'll show you a library of all the children's little books that they wrote. And they were just on simple things like this, but I have a library of books, and those books are more precious to me than any, quote, famous author. So write a little book of a 3-day life. And the other thing is get your laugh back. And the other thing is recline for an hour and watch Love Comes Softly. Then the other thing is, now I'll give you a few days to do this because it might take me a few days to come back. But the other thing is to deliberately try having, you'll have to plan this, try having a pleasant conversation for a minute with someone in your home or someone else. And not mention the news. You know, as Basil Fawlty said, don't mention the war. How many of you have seen that one? Fawlty Towers says, don't mention the war. So don't mention, deliberately have a conversation for 1 minute with someone, plan it a little bit. What you do for a conversation is you ask a question like, how are you? And what they say, or what have you been doing? And what they say, after what they say, you talk about that. You say, oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about it. And you keep a little conversation going. But you try to end it a little bit before you, because most people have got the war on their mind, but try to end it before you get into the war. My goal is, when the ladies come here on Thursday for the ladies' Bible class, to get through the Bible study and the class without mentioning the current events. And usually when they're sitting at tea, we're talking about the food, we're talking about the tea and how nice it is to come here. And they'll start, if any of them start talking about the war, I get up and I say, I think maybe you'll need more tea. I get up and I fill the kettle again. And by the way, while everyone was here, I had 4 drink stations, and I had 4 of these. Remember how much I like these, and they have a little thing here that turns it on and heats it, and it's automatic shut off. And I had all the cups and all the tea supplies and coffee supplies and then drinks for the children, 4 different stations just on tables so they could just be independent and help themselves. And so that's what I do, is I get up and I start making tea, or I just leave the room for a minute, kind of tidy up the kitchen or something, let them just go at it, you know. Because I don't want to be thinking about that when they leave, and I want to be on a high note. Now I won't correct them. I won't say, wait a minute, no, don't say anymore. I wouldn't say that. That would hurt somebody so terribly when actually they mean no harm. They just don't know any better, and they're probably not aware. So I'm going to write these things down for you. You get out your little notebook, and you know, you can do it like one of my grandchildren did, and just make a separate notebook for every assignment if you like, if you don't want to have one notebook. So now I'm taking some of these things from a class I took, must have been way back in the 1980s. I took a class, and it was modeling and etiquette, and it was done by a woman who had her own private modeling school, and she trained young girls to have good posture and introductions and pretty formal things. So I took that course, but then I decided that I would like to have more of a refinement course for people who some of these etiquette things don't really apply, especially us out on the farmland, you know, and talk about smoothing off the rough edges of your conversation and making it more pleasant, and also taking refinement means to take out the crude, you know, like you take crude oil and you refine it into some other kind of oil, and it's clear. You take all the crudeness out of it. So to take the crudeness out of you and to refine you, you know, like, don't be a jumpy conversationalist. Don't be jumping down everybody's throat all the time. Don't be constantly correcting people. There is a way that you can guide someone without acting like they've done something wrong, or you're treating them like they don't know anything or they're stupid. There is a way to say, well, that's an interesting way to do it, but I'd like you to consider doing it this way. I just discovered this way, and it seems to work better for me. And so that's very, very helpful. Now, ladies, I want to read a little bit out of this cottage book because they did have some sayings in here, but I've heard these said by people that are just teaching classes to ladies at church. And one of the things that I read here, that I'm sure other people have said it, is said you should always be the best decoration for your own home. And that is why I'm telling you to get dressed and get ready for the day. Put a clean apron on, and the house, it can be in shambles, jumbled around all over you. Maybe you just got back from a trip. But if you're dressed and you're smiling and you're optimistic and you can get your laugh back, then you're the best decoration of the home. That is so important, isn't it? You're the best decoration of your home. You can teach that to your children, too. I want to read a couple of other, they were very good about having sayings in here, so I wanted to be sure to read them. A guest never forgets the host who has treated him kindly. And I hope that I treated everybody kindly, because I had 9 people sleeping in the house. We shared one bathroom and did very well. And I got a new bathroom appliance out of it. I got a new commode, and they bought it for me. All the descendants, they teamed together with their efforts and their money and got me a new fixture in my bathroom, and which I had needed, because the one that was in there had been there since 1962. So I'm very happy with that. It was really worth the sacrifice, wasn't it? Peace is presented right here, and none in ourselves and in everything we do and see. Peace is presented right here and now in ourselves and in everything we do and see. That's talking about the home. This book here is talking about the home. If you really are stressed out, I recommend you get it. Go ahead for the expense. After all, we don't get paid, do we? This is how you pay yourself. So it's called Cottage Home Style. It's a reprint from way back in the 1980s, I think. So, you know, the pictures aren't kind of as good or as I thought they were in the original, but the pages are better. The pages have a quality in them. And there's lighthouses. I will have to do you a video on ocean things that apply to the home and all the ocean songs in the hymnals. And so, ladies, I can't think of what else to say, you wonderful people, but we will try to get back to you soon, and I hope you have a lovely day. And I want to remind you about the scripture that I read that was, do whatever you want others to do to you, do to them. And this is the essence of good citizenship. Love your neighbor as yourself, and love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And when I was growing up, we had citizenship lessons at school. And that was how to be as good citizenship, was to care about the people in your country, to help one another, and to live in peace with one another. And whatever you wish for someone to do to you, do to them. That made our nation a great nation, and this is why we are so different, and I'm sure other countries do the same. But this thing about, oh, and the other thing I want you to do in your refinement assignment is take the words from America the Beautiful. It's a little phrase, and I want you to write down what you think they mean. If you could possibly put it in the comments, I'd appreciate it. And it's, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Now, of course, they're using gold as a character. May God thy gold refine, because gold in America wasn't actually gold or silver. It was the character of the people. That's gold. That's pure gold. And that's what, see, when you do what God wants you to do and take care of your family and take care of your home, that's gold. And that's character. And love your neighbor as yourself, and do unto others as you would have them do. That's the gold. And so it's your personality. It's your character. May God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. What does every gain divine mean? It means for the Lord, for the cause of Christ. And every gain is divine. You know, you build your family up and you become 18 people, and you start to look and to see if you've had an effect on it. Well, the fact that they come home for 4th of July shows you've had some kind of effect on them, that some of your labor is coming to fruition. So look that up. It's in America the Beautiful. They never sing that verse except at Ronald Reagan's funeral. They sang all the verses, and that's the last verse. But it is the most precious. We sang it at church last Sunday. May God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Now I'm teaching you, I'm homeschooling you. This is a homeschool lesson, this whole thing. In civics, this is a lesson in civics. And to love your neighbor as yourself, that is citizenship, that is good citizenship. You see, also, you need to fix things instead of spending hours blaming on something, trying to find out who's to blame. Try to find out how to fix it, because that grows you, that makes you skillful, and then your skills become gold. So ladies, I hope that you are going to have a wonderful day, and I'm sorry this is so short, and it was a show and tell, but I will see you next time, and I'll be in normal clothes. I'll talk to you later. Bye.